Yes, dear viewers, this morning we continue to have our main topic on our table. It is the very food for thought, farming, the only way to go. Wherever you are, you're Ugandan, wherever you are an African, wherever you are in the human race. We cannot run away from farming. That's what our guests were able to articulate. And in this second session, we will be interested to have comparative analysis, especially in terms of progress and challenges. Uganda, as it is zoned in different, now in terms of category of regions, geographical regions, east, west, north, south, central, and as well with sub-regions that are there in around 24 sub-regions. And we are aware, personally I'm aware, under my colleagues, that we have what they call here program agricultural zoning. Leaving now that aside, even as on the continent, there is supposed to be what Uganda does best in terms of agriculture. Recalling my little history and geographical knowledge, we used to refer, they say, what is the cash crop of Uganda? And we could immediately, even now, immediately take to mind cotton. And then coffee could follow and forth. Then they talk about Ghana, they say cocoa. Then they talk about Canada, they say, those are producers of wheat. We must know what we can do best that can be at an international level competitive to flag us what we are. And having said that, I bring it back to you, Dr. Henry Mugisa Bazira, to take us through that. We are also interested to look at the agricultural economic disparities, both urban and rural, that has happened in our region, and how we can enhance agricultural production to bridge that gap.
You know, it's interesting. For Uganda, we don't have excuses. I think I'm sorry to say this, but we have been chasing our tail for too long. We do things, break them, come back. So we have been in a cycle of building and destroying, building and destroying. We never seem to be making build and go forward. Because the agricultural zoning you're talking about is something that Uganda has been through. Before, we had zones that were meant for cotton production, tea production, coffee production.
Yes. Building and destroying. When you say that, I'm able to recall the government has come up with many programs. We had Plan for Modernization of Agriculture. We had, and we still have, NAD's program. We had it in phases 1, 2, 3. We were also supported by the Operation Creation, Wealth Creation. Then also alongside there was Prosperity for All, which was also an element there. Then there was also something related with the Youth Livelihood Program, Women Rural Agriculture, all that, and also energy was.
So where is the integration of all that? Where is, now we are getting into a policy development model, which I'm really suspect. And for me, it is a bit. Let me first finish the case of the zoning, and for me, that's what I would like to see. I told you, I've just been from northern Uganda. I discovered that northern Sim grows best in northern Uganda. Northern Uganda would have been known today as a Sim production area. So we zone it for that. Yes. And cotton, as it used to be. We have cocoa in places that have been zoned. Coffee, the zoning of coffee. And we had this thing of coffee, cotton, tea, and as you know, look at the cash crops. Why? Because we are trying to feed into the export market. The mindset for those cash crops was not to provide local consumption, more to feed into the export market. Can we change that narrative that for every product we have, it is not only for export or for cash, but actually even to feed the people. People in Uganda take a lot of tea and less coffee, and we're a major producer of coffee. So, can we go back to the zoning arrangement? That to me is one strategy for increasing production. Can we, without taking the land away from the people, through these cooperative circles that we tend to be pushing around, can we allow people to start in a particular zone to produce the same product in a particular season? So that in totality you have a cumulative large-scale production, but with small players in between, because land still belongs to the people, and you're not going to change that. Yeah, and you don't want to disenfranchise the landowner by taking it away from him because you want to get a European or foreign Asian or Chinese farmer to come and take over their land.
Yes.
Empower your people to be able to produce. So in a particular region, like now in Soroti, those who are growing Simpson, can you have support for that production, both agriculture, for machinery, other inputs, so that this season that they're growing in Simpson, they have large-scale production. In the total volume amount of food that will come on the market will be great. I was happy to go finding maize being planted by everybody, because then I was in my heart, I was saying, yes, we have posho for Ugandans for the next 1 year. Because these large surfaces that have been planted with the maize. Yeah? But still, this is still rain-fed agriculture.
You were handling zone by zone.
Yes.
You were north, then you go to west,
yes.
central, like
so
that.
there will be crops that cannot grow in certain places. So those places should be zoned for those crops. Now, Uganda is so blessed. I met an engineer in Gulu, in the hotel where I was staying. And we had a discussion. So I laughed at him. I said, you guys only eat sukuma wiki, ugali, nyama, na ngombe, na mbuzi, yes? And there's this maize beans mixture, githeri,
yes.
And that is, on the hands you can count the different types of foods.
Yeah.
Then I told him, look, for us we have multiple, we can't even count them. We have malakwang, we have po, we have this, so the list was long. And I saw Uganda that is really endowed. We are so blessed with food options that but we're not taking advantage of them.
Exactly.
See, can we finance those areas to make sure that each of those food products that we have becomes a commercial product?
Doctor, we were looking at a good point of zoning, and it looks to be a great solution to the current discussion which we are projecting on the prospects. Northern Uganda, you mentioned Simpson, you mentioned coffee, cotton. In most cases, there are, according to the National Development Plan and also other programs, there are always key first 7 crops.
Discussion that.
Yes, you could take us through there, region per region, and then we see how are we performing. Then it will take us not to have the national picture.
And actually, for me, that's the baseline we need to do. That we need to assess ourselves where are these crops? At what level are they on exploitation? How can we best bring them, scale them up, and be able to increase the production to feed the population? Hunger in Uganda is not because there's lack of food. No. Hunger in Uganda is about food distribution. We are not distributing food sufficiently. And now that brings me back to the discussion on fuel. Fuel is the center of movement of things. Our fuel has gone up because of the so-called Ukrainian war. And yes, it has a bearing on the price of crude oil and therefore the price of fuel in the pumps. True, it increases the cost of production, but it does not stop our food production. The war in Ukraine and Russia does not stop food production. It moves only, complicates movement of food. Right? Movements of goods and services, because its impact is on oil, which we are all using. Okay? It is not about our seeding of our gardens, our planting of our gardens, harvesting of our gardens. That is a local problem, which I said we are responsible for our own problems, and therefore we must find them solutions. We should not expect an external person to come and give us solutions. The Chinese won't come to give us solutions, they'll come to exploit us. Indians won't come here to give us a solution, they're here to exploit us. The Americans are not here to give us a solution, but to exploit us. The Europeans are here not to give us an assistance, but to exploit us. So once we have that narrative, and know that they don't love us so much to be there and come and lift you up and hold you like babies, yes? That they have something of their interest in everything that they are doing with us here. That is something that we have to put in our minds whenever we're planning. It's important to use their money whenever it comes in terms of donations and grants and whatever, but the final analysis is that we must be the ones thinking for ourselves. We must be the ones planning for ourselves, not waiting for somebody from the World Bank, IMF to come and give us ideas of how we should run the economy. Let me go back to Paris model before you break me off. We have been running sector-wide.
Paris development model and agricultural stimuli program.
It's supposed to do that.
There's a appeal on production and productivity.
It's supposed to do that.
Okay.
So we have run almost now 40 years on sector budgeting and programming. Yes, we had almost mastered the art of sector-wide planning and budgeting. Now, even before we take off, when we're about to take off, somebody is coming to you and telling you, you know what, you've been wasting resources in the sector-wide arrangement, and therefore you must now go back to program
planning.
All our institutions, all our policies, all our operations, the practice we have, and mindset have been locked up in sector-wide.
Sector.
We used to do by the program planning before we went into sector-wide planning. So there is always somebody, I don't know why we listen to the IMF so much. There's always somebody at the IMF, the World Bank, telling us that's
They are the ones who finance you. You must dance their song.
It's as if you don't have the brains to think for
You
ourselves.
don't have money. You don't have money. They are the ones who finance
We
you.
just had a discussion here that sometimes it's not about not having the money to do any business. It's having the idea and having the commitment to follow the idea. And so for me, can Ugandans begin to do that? Follow the idea. The money will follow. Money always follows an idea.
Follows an idea.
That's right.
Money always follows an idea. So let's have a good idea.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I want to appreciate you, Doctor. And I'm switching to our dear, guest as well, Mr. Joshua Aijuka. There is a supplement I would like you to kind of make that is still emphasizing on the agricultural zoning. I have a dream, much as I'm moderating for this program, where you can all of a sudden, if you are moving to the north, to the what I call northern axis, you see farming thriving. Not just me. You see 100 by 50 feet of some cassava. You see farming. You have traveled. When you look at what happens in UK, even where they are having much more of the areas which are urbanized, and you see how they are treating farming, you like it, even in appearance. You see whether it is wheat, it covers at a long pace and say, this is wonderful. Yet for us, it is not the case. You are seeing even land which is not cultivated. I did a research on agriculture extension services and fiscal decentralization. And where one of it was to look at agricultural mechanization. Agricultural mechanization means an unrealized dream, which would have taken us to wide-scale farming that could solve our problems. Having said that, what is the missing link in this agricultural zoning? I know you've already talked about agricultural financing and so forth. The NGO world is supposed to be doing something. In northern Uganda, northeastern, there is a church, a religious organization has partnered with other church organizations. They are supplying tractors to end the hunger in Karamoja. How can we realize our dream? It's not now my dream, because macro agriculture production is not my dream, it's our dream. Please kindly take us through the agricultural zoning, what we could do best by each region, and also carry us through that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Yes, it is true that different zones are basing on their climatic and other agroecological characteristics suitable for producing certain kind of products. And it's also true that these zones and the regions and the people that are in there, food is linked to culture. Production is linked to culture in a way, one another. And I think for me, it's not a very good thing to separate the two. That's why maybe it is agri-culture. There's a certain element that people relating to food. And I also want to first take us to his submission about the diversity we have in Uganda. The diversity, the kind of food that we have compared to other regions. And I'll give you an example how blessed we are. Remember
briefly, let's carry on like this. Talk each region how blessed it is. is how it feeds into the national agricultural production, each region in terms of enterprises, and even the potential.
Yes, now you see, before I go to the region, I wanted to point one thing that I want us to appreciate regarding the aspect of agrobiodiversity and the resource we have as Uganda. Remember the outbreak of the fall armyworm, if you recall, some years back. And you recall how our neighbors suffered. Neighbors, I would talk of Kenya for instance, because almost the whole country is covered with maize as a staple, because ugali is their staple. So when you get an incident like a fall armyworm coming and it is eating all the cereals, then your economy, the livelihood of the people, is at the brink of breakdown. You get that? The same armyworm came to Uganda. What happened? Maize alone, we have a diversity of maize. Some of the maize that they are not even registered in the national catalogue. Millet, there's even now power millet. There's the finger millet. There's all kinds of tubers and all that. Even when the fall armyworm, as a country, we were not affected in terms of despite what was projected. Even the locust, they could not lead us to a state where we are totally food insecure. So what I'm trying to drive at is our development of the agriculture sector should in a way not negate the benefit we have in our agrobiodiversity. It should be hinged on that as a resource that we don't have. Why Uganda is called the food basket is that it is the only country you go and you say in a restaurant and you say, I want all food. I want all food plus. If you do that in another country, they will charge you for each. Oh, you said you want sweet potato, it is this much you want. In Uganda, you just say, any restaurant, you say, I want all food plus this, and you eat the best food at the least price. That is an opportunity that we have in Uganda, and our sector must be built on that. If we say that we want to go the conventional way, I want to call it, just like you said, a certain narrative which is defined by a certain kind of growth model, we are going to lose a lot. So I agree with you. We need to develop. We need to increase the scale of production. Looking at the different regions, for example, in the eastern region, we know that the oilseed crops are doing well. The groundnuts, even soya does. They even have some indigenous crops like the bambara nuts, which I don't know if you taste bambara nut, for instance. It's one of the most delicious.
Groundnut. I want the five.
Groundnuts, sesame. Bambara nuts. There is, of course, they have cassava. Cassava is being produced.
Eastern Uganda.
Yes, being produced in plenty with lots of varieties. There is also sorghum, some of it being introduced by, of course, the breweries, but also the local sorghum varieties that are adapted to those areas. You go to the bit of the lower regions of the Mbalis and all that.
Then perennial cash crop.
Oranges, citrus.
No, citrus. But also, you look at citrus and the project that was put there. Speaking of the
oranges.
Citrus, all kinds of oranges, lemons. They do so well in the eastern, like the Teso sub-region. They do so well. And the factory was put there. But from the last time I heard, there was a complaint from the people that actually...
You've not mentioned coffee.
In the northeastern, not a lot of it. The climate is not favorable. Now the coffee, you would mostly...
coffee.
Yes, now that is the lower eastern now. The Bugisu, there is coffee, there is banana, of course there is all kinds of...
The sweet potatoes. Don't forget it is a prominent...
Exactly. So we're talking about the Teso sub-region now. Okay. The lower sub-region, of course, coffee is very key. The bananas are the key. Potatoes, sweet potatoes and the other potatoes. I don't want to call them Irish potatoes, but we can call them that. So all these are in there. If you go to let's say to the West Nile, northern West Nile region, we've already talked about the
Simsim coffee, cotton.
Yeah, West Nile there's coffee. West Nile there's a lot of coffee. Also sesame is there. Also do a bit of groundnuts.
What we listed for the northern Kulu area.
Yeah,
fits very well in Western Nile.
Yeah, they kind of fit very well because plus potatoes. They do a lot of potatoes right now, and there's a lot of research going on. Most of these potatoes are coming from all the way from Kachwekano in southwestern, and they are being taken there, and they are doing so well. So they are big producers of potatoes in the region. If you go to Central is so many.
Central
things.
Uganda.
Yes. Traditionally, it used to be bananas, but bananas, I think, they have shifted more in the west and the east.
What is being done zone for Central? The 5 or 7 products.
Banana, coffee, what else would you put there?
Also maize does well.
Maize does well.
Because like areas like
Sweet
Mubende,
potatoes.
yeah.
Beans, we've not mentioned beans.
Yeah, of course, beans almost everywhere. Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, beans, peas, and all that. So like the diversity is just, the other fruits, avocados, mangoes, but I also have to look into the land holding. Some of these, because now in the central,
And
the
tomatoes?
land holding is reducing.
yeah.
They also do everywhere.
Tomatoes across the country.
Across the
Yes.
country.
Yeah, the watermelons of the like. Basically, horticultural crops, they do quite well.
Okay.
Then, of course, the western, southwestern, bananas are doing well. Sweet potatoes, Irish, and
Cassava doesn't do well that end.
yeah,
Western,
it does.
southwestern Uganda.
Millet does well in the midwestern. So we basically, the whole point is we have a lot that we need to build on, and for me, production and the agro-industrialization must first of all be hinged on the food security of the country and the region. This is very important. This agro-industrialization aspect must be looked at carefully. I'll give you an example. Agro-industrialization is not a totally new concept. We have commercial crops. We have sugarcane in the eastern region and in the Hoimar areas. If agro-industrialization by itself could transform rural livelihoods, then Bugisu, Busoga region would be the wealthiest. They've not experienced war like the North. But if you look at the World Bank, the Poverty Index report, you'll find that Bugisu, Busoga sub-region is one of the poorest. Why? Why? Yet they've had decades of successful commercial agriculture, sugarcane. So it helps us to think that it's not about production. It's about production that is hinged on people's needs, to begin with food, security, and sovereignty, and then the surplus. Like you said, I like the idea of aggregation. We need to look at, as we have failed these technologies, if you talk about mechanization, maybe we don't need these huge combined harvesters and tractors. We need maybe handheld tractors. We need tractors that can, be held by smallholder farmers, so that they transform from the using of the hand hoe, increase production, but also factor in that we need our land holding does not allow for certain kinds of things, and also we can harness our diversity and still be able to grow. And take the opportunity that we have as a region. Let me talk about organic agriculture. Uganda has the highest comparative advantage for producing organically in the region. I think even in Africa. They even call it organic by default.
Would you kindly, to the viewers, understand your terminology, your concept, organic agriculture? They would like to know. For you they would like to
from the layman's perspective, I would say organic agriculture is a production system that looks at producing food without using harmful chemical substances, and also in a way that does not affect the nature and is socially compatible to people's health and well-being. And as I also want to inform the viewers that Uganda is one of the first countries in the region to have a national organic agriculture policy. And right now, the ministry is working on a national organic agriculture bill. We have movements like the National Organic Agriculture Movements. We have Uganda Organic Certification. Organic trade is growing at a rampant speed globally. And Uganda is gifted that by default, the use of these chemicals and all that, by default, is at the lowest. Are we saying this is why we wanted to keep it? No. But my point is, if we are to invest in agriculture production, instead of investing in these chemicals, can we now invest in producing of these organic inputs? Organic inputs to boost organically grown products, which are highly demanded. What the conversation we had, a kilo of tomatoes that you would sell maybe, I think you had given an example in Europe, in Europe was about $5. An organic tomato would now go for over 10, organically certified. You get
over
that?
10.
That is double, organically certified. And what is happening is, as we getting, even within Uganda, the middle class that is growing, people are beginning to get concerned about what they eat. Just like Doctor told us, the chicken we eat, many people that have money would not opt for the broiler, would opt for the local chicken. You get it? Because they're more concerned about what they eat. There's a point when you reach and it's not about having put on the food on the plate. It's about the quality, the source, what it means to you. And that is where we're going. Can we position ourselves and harness the opportunity we have as a country to invest in organic and agroecological production systems?
You have a list of almost 30 products, 30 crops, 30 plants. Imagine if you were to develop those products and commercialize them, how many industries would you have in the country?
And how many households,
How many households?
and the youth would you have employed?
With this development, you don't even need money from the oil and gas sector. With this development
Alone.
you don't need the money from the oil and gas sector, because the agriculture money would overwhelm you, that you don't even think about the oil and gas.
I would like to pose humbly a question, as you stated all that, that in the midst of all these aspirations, there are challenges that continue to be a hindrance to any positive thinking Ugandan. When you go to the West, where I may be conversant to the agricultural practice, I myself have been in the hands-on practical agriculture. There's been a drastic shift, especially in productivity, because of the loss of soil fertility, one, and two, there is also a challenge of the land distribution policy in Uganda, where we are talking about macro agriculture. Some areas in Uganda, they do have land that is just, it's arable land, but which is having absentee landlordship, and others not yet either utilized. And someone, as you're saying that now you're talking about urban and rural farming, we don't have land. Our land has lost soil fertility. What else? How can we bridge that serious gap and the challenge? Alarming challenge. Yes? Yes, please. Yes, please.
The problem is not too much loss of soil fertility. It is about how you're managing the nutrient balance. Because every time you harvest a crop and take it away, you have transferred away the nutrients. Every time you harvest bananas from Angola and bring them to Kampala, with their skins on, fertility from Mbarara to Kampala. And these peelings are going to fertilize Uganda. The central region.
Actually becoming a West prominence now.
The nutrients are concentrated, are coming from the rural area and coming into the center, because that's where the West is. And then we are managing our West poorly. We are not converting that West into an organic fertilizer.
And taking
we are going and dumping it into Kitezi landfill, putting it there, so the breakdown happens there. Then you have the loss of the nutrients in that place, carbon dioxide now in that place. Yet you could have a mechanism that leaves the peels where they have come from and bring them at Matoke.
What should have been done?
Build them at Matoke, bring it to Kampala. Leave the peelings behind where they come from.
Will they still be fresh?
So you won't have a loss of fertility in Angola where it is coming from.
Is it practically possible for those who want to eat their fresh Matoke? Which
yes, it is practically possible. Because now you have already started leaving the stock where the bananas are, behind there, where they're coming from.
You peel and put them into, you pack them into velas.
The bags. To Kenya. So now that particular stock remains there. So now let's develop an innovation that allows us to keep the freshness.
Enlighten us on that innovation, because I'm worried. Someone who is a businessman of Matoke, how you will peel and then you pack them into bags, and yet the following day you are not sure of the customer. Kindly enlighten us.
Let me talk about something I know very well that I've been dealing with for the last almost 10 years. Fish. Why do we lose fish overnight? We bring the fish from the water, put it on the table, you are selling it on the market. By midday, 5 o'clock, that fish will be smelling. Why should you lose that fish?
How can one do it? We are learning from you as the viewers.
We have been using smoked fish for so many years. That technology is ancient. We can't continue with that. We have to develop it. There are fish dryers today, which will dry the fish. Keep the fish on the shelf for the next 3 years as a shelf life.
That is okay.
Okay? So that's an example I'm talking about. Can we then have innovation, research done on how we can keep the freshness or the original taste of the banana either in the dry
form,
and
also talk about the
dry form and bring it onto the market. Dried form, bring it on the market, and still maintain the nutrient quality, the test, if you cook it. That is something I would like to see. Then the other review for cassava, at least you have a process. We are actually not producing enough cassava as we used to produce cassava. Production for cassava has gone down. Yet cassava can be used. President Seven was talking about that. Yeah. So it's not lack of the innovations, lack of the ideas. It's the commitment to invest. You see, how I wish I could even have somebody producing mass production of dodo. Yeah. And bring it on the market. Dodo is grown almost by accident in Uganda. Yes, people just, I see them in my neighborhood because I live in Busukuma. People are using edges of the wetlands to produce the red dodo, the green dodo, nakati, yeah? And they're making lots of money. But what do? They go and pick it up with all the mud and everything else, bring it to the market. Now, if that dodo doesn't get sold that day, it is spoiled. So they don't spoilage. Can we address the spoilage? Yeah. I know you can dry, I have experienced it in the lab. You can dry a plant and it remains green. Yeah.
We are going for commercial break. Stay tuned, as we'll be coming back. We'll be able to go into all those dynamics. And Doctor has given us a tip. I'm a good student here. And I would like to also, my dear viewers, to get the same information. We can change our generation and have a new Uganda tomorrow if we are ready to do so. If
you commit to do so.
If you are committed to do so. Stay tuned as we will be coming back.